Good. I'm going to do one more review here. The difference between the North and the South. Definitely pulling the strings and maneuvers. Very common political environment. Very common. I never experienced that one time up north. Not once. Maybe Waukegan. not even. Nah. Even in Waukegan, North Chicago, it would be all over the newspapers. It's very much out in the open. Out here, Norm. That's a big one. Pulling the endless maneuvers. I've never experienced that before. Just look at me as an example. A United Way? A system? I was never seeking education. I made that one phone call up to College Lake County, and I'm still at it in 2012. The two parties, the Republicans and the special interest, and the politicizing of it, environment will pull you down. And yes, up north, on the other hand, if you were to compare that, let me share psychology again out here. Oh, I'm going to guarantee you it can get really unbelievable, I'm sure. That's why I would never go through this down here if it happens, and I have one last survival. I guarantee you, it'll be a real mess. The back where I come from. You mentioned the most successful business leader in the nation. I do have to admit, again, that pastor for some individual counseling, horrible, like just unheard of. And ethics, charitable, unheard of. I do have to say, I was very fortunate that I believe his state, Dr. Glasser, he may have said it by theory elementary, but he also did try to get a feel. By then I was already shaking his hand and going to my truck. Where at that point, it was the first time that special interests have ever directly affected me. I didn't know anything about special interests and how powerful they are. It can get a lot worse than that, but I do have to admit, I got a good one. I would give Dr. Glasser outright praise. He did try to get a feel. He suggested gateway. By then, I already shook his hand, so he could not use the psychology on me. I had no idea what the ultimate diagnosis is on there. It very much could say I am just outrageous. Could you imagine that it became a legal consideration? But I was the one who cut it off. Okay? He did get a feel. I probably got a good one, because I do have to say he was trying to get a feel, whether I was going to seek some individual counseling too. By then I had already cut it off. That's just my nature, because God only knows what the real records say. I'll take accountability for that one. That's never going to be an issue, I'm sure. Pulling the strings, the maneuvers especially, that is very common down here. I never experienced maneuvers up north. I'm taking against the maneuvers because there's not a heck of a lot of truth to it being taken into account. Pulling the strings, maneuvers, the difference between right and wrong, more surface, superficial image. You know, what I've experienced up north is everything's taken in consideration. Every bit of it. The psychology would be elementary, but you take, even at the highest level, but the whole big picture, every bit of it. Look at what I've experienced in Lake Forest. up and down the it's a facade. They look a whole lot deeper at you. For me, I'm very fortunate to be able to have them, you know, literally get that reaction every single time. You know, with the highest level of expectations from, I'm used to CEOs exceeding their expectations. You mentioned that down here under psychology, under theory, I guarantee you, it'll be a real mess. You've seen what happened to me. One phone call compared to literally teetering psychological malpractice here. Where's that attention being focused? The EQ. It's a business. It's going to fall into legal. It's going to fall into legal. For sure. And, the political environment. You even take Shelby County, the most outstanding area out here. The political environment, not that way up north. If told an answer, how corrupt does it get? I can guarantee you something. Depending on a lot of factors. Maybe that's why the South is thought of as not as intelligent. The whole big picture is taken into account for what I've always experienced. Maybe not as much as you get further out in Lake County towards, you know, areas like, you know, where it becomes more politicized, I would say, more dependent on politicizing or instead of really holding that weight. Yes, my background, just as I mentioned, I don't even question psychological malpractice. I don't know whether or not the federal government could be sued, or I just set a statute of limitation with again. My background is what it's always going to be. That investment is made in me. It will never happen down here. I've had $200,000 wiped out, and literally what I've learned here, look what's happened there. United Way? Crazy? I didn't know about anything about a system. I was believing it was the intended purpose of law. One phone call. That's up in Grays Lake. Compare it to along the Chicagoland North Shore. That will always, always be who I am. If it becomes absolutely one last chance, the likelihood of what's really the big picture and getting back on my feet would be probably pretty high. That's why the likelihood is probably pretty dog. I've dealt with Lake County even. I've never experienced corruption in Lake County with even the county. I understand it's a little bit. You're not going to hear these just absolutely outrageous stories where it's completely out of control as far as special interests and political environment. That doesn't happen. It will not happen up north. I know that much. Yes, I've been very severely injured. Of course I have. The whole big picture is taken in consideration. Look at what's happened down here. Look at that. I'm sure you'd head on. Head on. Yes, the United Way helped. be all over the newspaper and somebody would resign. Lake County, guarantee you that one. If somebody heard a story like that down here, we're down all the time. And the maneuvers on. I think that's what's called corruption. The difference between right and wrong, thinking through logically, taking everything into consideration. If I had absolutely one single last chance of survival down here, you want to see what a CEO in the background, you've already seen it. You're seeing it. It's teetering, malpractice. You think the federal government can be sued for this one? You wouldn't do something like that to someone with a background that I come from. Over 30 years. Can't change that. You're very severely injured. I do not know how predatory the actual medical is. It's certainly incorporated completely a norm where it's elementary by theory instead of looking at the whole big picture. Everything be taken into account. Every bit of it. Not just, there would be, even with the county, if you got someone that really was worth that investment, I don't question that this is extremely serious what's happened here. Thank God that if absolutely I have one single final remaining chance, the truth always comes out. It's highly valued where I come from. Not down here. Yeah. Always come down to it, taking the whole big picture into play, every bit of it. Every single bit of it. Sure, I'd cooperate with an assessment, of course I would. But the whole big picture would be taken in consideration. And it would not just be elementary aspects. I've never experienced that before up north. Ever. Down here, find out what could happen. You've seen it. You've seen it. I never did commit a psychological disorder. Bill Pryor, all of that? It's serious stuff. Psychological malpractice is what it is. I think that immunity goes out the window too in the long run. It happens to someone. A very good reason why I'm documenting this. I want the truth to come out, and it's an absolute. If the damage has been so great here, it will. Thank God I've got a psychologist consistent to what's been true for over 30 years. I must be very fortunate if it's completely out of context. Yeah, that investment in me would pay off very quickly. If I can get back up with CEOs, no, guarantee you present that out here, be a complete mess. Have you seen it? I must have been out of my mind to stay down here. Must have been out of my mind. And is there any truth or accountability? The two pussies pulling the... I heard it directly from Stephen K. Simpson. I've never heard something so bankrupt in my life. And Sisson? Yeah, something to do right with Bill Pryor on that one. He knows it all. It's something that you need to know more about. See, their interests back up north. Take the whole big picture into play. Always the truth. always. I shared it head on. The pulling the strings is the biggest factor. What's behind that pulling the strings? The maneuvers? I already know there's not a speck of truth to it. You get someone with a real legal arm, real power, with a special, yeah. The ethics, EQ, ethics and EQ. Very common down here. How much medical fraud? Medical being predatory? They're pumping people up on 10, 15 pharmaceuticals a day. I don't know how you can experience, grow, or learn under that. Be a complete mess. It doesn't matter. Exactly that reaction I gave you. That. What do you expect? It's a major medical hub. The corruption is completely out of control. The special interests, the Republicans, can pull your... I'd be an outstanding example in that respect. I've shared it all. It's teetering right now, whether or not the damage is that great. Someone's going to look at these 30 years. I'll guarantee you those 30 years that I'm 52. Yeah, that whole thing's going to come into play. I'd be seeking psychological malpractice. Likelihood you'd be nuts to do something like that with the background that I'm able to fully substantiate. I'd like to see the maneuvers on that one. Where I come from, that psychological malpractice down here to increase performance. Unheard of for medical records being falsified. Down here, that is intentional. Look at the outcome. You wouldn't do that. It is a higher level of intelligence up north, I would say. The biggest factor I would say is everything is taken into account. And the truth always comes out. That's the only thing I know in over 30 years that's so ingrained in me. Someone was worthy. Do what you could. Down here, it's a feeding farm. I don't know how much really goes on down here, but I can tell you this much. It's thoroughly corrupt. It is completely corrupt. Completely out of control. Especially when you look at the elementary theories, even if it's a PhD. I gotta say that the people I related with, trash. Even at the highest level, it corrupts. It's very common. The ethics, the whole big picture is taken into play. Everything in consideration. It's a facade, and the truth always wins out. I would say is the difference. Always the truth. Whole big picture. Everything taken in consideration. You wouldn't want to harm somebody else. Out here, the medical is predatory enough out here that there are many people on 10, 15 pharmaceuticals a day. I could just imagine. It's like a factory farm. The negligence is extremely high out here. That's one thing for sure. the negligence very high. It goes on a lot. I don't know why. Lack of experience and a wider diversification. It may have the education. They're missing a lot of lacking experience. I don't know. I have heard the South is not as intelligent as the North. It should be equal, though, so it's probably more cultural. Yes, the medical is outright predatory. I do not know internally how much there's kickbacks, paybacks, stuff like that. I know nothing about the sector. But I'm taking a guess. With all that, with a tremendous amount of federal money pouring in, it goes on a lot. I've been let known it is common. Payoffs, kickbacks, that kind of thing does go on. I don't know how much. I don't know anything about that. I've never been, no experience. So with that, thank you for getting to know me better, and if I have to go absolute survival, I'm going to be ready for this one. I'll tell you this much. Absolutely, truth will come out on this one. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I'm lucky to still have that one aspect only under absolute survival. Another thing that's happened out here, I find has having to correct. It is not medical. I've never experienced that in Lake County, that boundary being crossed. It's a very severe boundary. That I have to say, can imagine the politicizing, how powerful this special is, the maneuvers. I have never once in my lifetime ever had to say it's not medical. And that's all it is. Yeah. The boundaries get crossed. Look at me. Can you imagine if I disclosed I came from the Chicagoland North Shore? And I've had these CEOs and gained all that experience? You want to know how much of a mess it's going to be? And it's ordered? Anything could happen. Anything. You'd be pumped up on so much by the time it's done. It's elementary. All that is known out here. It's been this. I've heard of really serious medical aspects. Serious. Very common out here. Boundaries get head on. I'm telling you, head on. Look at me as an example. I've had it happen to me. I didn't even know it until after the fact. Boundaries of what is. I have never once in over 40 years been in an environment that you have to correct. It is not medical. But you can do it to your blue in the face. And it still always comes back to that. I have never experienced anything like that. Very, as I mentioned, it's predatory. I have never once. That's been only learned in the lately. It's not medical. And you say it, and it's so drilled into their head, they can't get off it. They don't know anything but elementary theories. Guaranteed you see how that can get to be a real mess. Honestly, never once in my lifetime do those boundaries get crossed. It's very common out here. As I mentioned, just take me as an example. if those investments in me were directed correctly, put me right back along the Chicagoland North Shore, right back up with those CEOs in any setting, and what I've stated, I'm fully 100% experienced. I'd pull myself out of this right away. There'd still be some legal aspects in the bankruptcy, but within a year or so, I'd be back head on, head on, head on. I'd right back in. Boom. If I can get back with those CEOs in this setting, with those highest level of expectations, the product or service that they're requesting and exceeding their expectations to their home, is 100% guaranteed right off the bat. And within a very brief period, that is exactly what I need to be able to do to be successful again. It would not be the education. It would be head-on with that very unique experience that I have had experienced thousands of times. Very fortunate for that experience. Down here, can you imagine? You're correcting it's medical, that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's something I've learned down here. It's not a top business success. It's gone on for decades, I'm sure. Incredibly powerful. Yes. It can bring a person right down to their knees. I'm telling you firsthand. I'm sharing it. That's why I'm doing these 30 years. You wouldn't believe it. You heard it from me right there. I've never once. And you can say it to you're blue in the face. You can't get them off it. It's elementary. No matter what level, it could be at the very highest level. Honest truth. Thank you. Thank you. I don't think that's honest truth by experience. Head on. I'm not involved in any of it. It's completely out of control. Thank you very much. I think that's a pretty interesting one. Yes, really. I'm being honest about that. It is so out of control. Yes, the most outrageous things go on. Got it firsthand from me. In 1 week, I could very much be sharing this experience. These 30 years. And it certainly will be looked at. I guarantee you that. The whole big picture. What's the chance of me getting this setting? Of being back up out the North Shore? Probably pretty high. Probably pretty high. I'm sure this is going to be an interesting one. Psychological malpractice. I'm not an attorney. This is going to be legal. If that's directed correctly, very quickly, to incorporate it right back to what's been true throughout my life, it would happen with it very quickly. The success will be created very quickly. Down here, you can see what I've shared with you. One phone call. I've been at it. Okay, since 2004. You know what? It's heading towards a psychological malpractice lawsuit. It's that outrageous. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time of, thank you.